Hey everyone, Mango7Roll here. How we doing today? Welcome to another episode of Mango Reviews, I guess. Last time I did this was for Counterside, and I got a lot of hate because it wasn't super organized and or like 100% perfect. But the point of these is not to give you a full review of the game and everything and the ins and outs of it. It's a review of 2 weeks of playing, or however long I've been playing. Just how I've been enjoying the game, how it compares to other things, what most like average players might feel as they go into this. So as we do go into Alchemy Stars, I do want to say I like to give a little bit of a review before we start. I think it's my favorite game of the year so far, and one of my favorite gacha games ever released. If you want to download Alchemy Stars, you can get it in the link description below, of course. And I also want to mention it looks much better on my phone, so like the images of the characters here are much clearer and everything like that. So yeah, let's get into this. So the first thing is, I just want to mention that this is very much like an Arknights game. A lot of the same features of Arknights translate pretty much one-to-one over here. Kind of similar to how Summoner's War / E7 are very, very, very close. This has a lot of inspiration and stealing, I guess, from Arknights. I believe some of the Arknights artists are also working on this, which makes sense because the characters are so beautiful. So let's talk about the recruitment first, specifically how the banners work, the good and the bad about both of them. So this game has been out for, I think, about 15 days I've been playing, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And there are two main banners right now. There are Uriel and Carleen, and the banner rates are identical to Arknights, if you're familiar with that. And that basically means you can't see how many pulls you've done. Also, your pity starts at 40 pulls, I believe, and starts ramping up. So you can see right here, 2% pulls, and then at 40 you'll get like plus 2.5, and then plus 5, then plus 7.5, then plus 10. So you'll hit the pity eventually if you don't get a unit, but it doesn't tell you how close you are. That's one of the biggest downfalls to this game, IMO. I really dislike that sort of thing. It's really frustrating to me not knowing how close I am. And yeah, if we click on the rates here, the other thing that you'll see that is very similar is it's basically 50% chance to get the banner unit or not. So when you do recruit a 6-star, 50% chance it'll be Carleen, and then the others, it will split up between these basically. And if we take a look at the other banners, it's the exact same thing. I believe they said pity persists to the next banner. I'm not entirely sure on that. And they did add 2 new banners to summon from here as well. And you'll notice at the top right, we have a change in currency. First off, this is kind of like the rare currency where you can only use your Lumamber fur. And this other one here is ones you get from like daily quests and stuff. Not daily quests, just regular things. Speaking of daily quests, we'll get to that in a second. And this is a rotating recruitment here. And there's 2 and 1. I'm actually not familiar with how I actually have these 2 units already, so I'm not familiar how it comes here. So yeah, okay, so that makes sense. So 37.5 chance to be Midgard and 37.5 chance to be Iridon. So basically 25% chance to not get them. And then there's the base mainstay recruitment, which is just the Covenant pool, essentially, where everything is thrown in. There's no real recruits ups, it's just like a bunch of them there that you split up here. Biggest downfall with the summoning I'm worried about for the future is lack of currency. Right now there are no daily summons, so games that don't have daily summons are really, they don't make sense to me, because one of the biggest ways to get somebody to log in every day into your gacha game is giving them a free daily pull, but there are none here. And speaking of daily rewards, there are also very, very, very few daily rewards. So the daily rewards are not good. These are quite atrocious. Right now it feels okay because as you're clearing stages and quests and achievements, you get a ton of rewards. Not a ton, you get some rewards, but these rewards are not good. So this is the monthly login reward here. We have 50 Lumamber on the first week. It takes 300 for a single pull. And remember, a pity is 40, and I've hit pity 3 times so far already to give you an idea of how often you'll hit pity. And then this is the stamina, and the rest are just filler for the most part, right? So like 4, 18, this is a pull, so a single pull here. And these rewards are bad. Let's just say it. They're not even like semi bad. They're straight up atrocious. So 30 stamina from the 31st day. So it's not great. Then we have the main login bonuses here. At 7, you get a single pull for 7 days of login. At 15, you get 2. At 30, you get 2. 30 more days, and you only get another 2. So you can see these rewards are just not up to par with most gacha games. This is a pretty bad sign for the long term of the game, especially for people who thrive off of that. It felt okay at the start, but I'm worried about the end. So let's actually talk about the characters, and I don't really have anything negative to say about the characters. The characters are pretty flipping fantastic. I don't really have a bad thing to say about almost any of them. And there are 4 elements. You're going to have the forest, the fire, the thunder, and the water. And each of them, you can see their profiles here. This little X kind of shows you how far they are ascended. So like the first one here is 1, and then there's another, and now 1 more, and it would be a full ascension here. And we can see the ascension to level 3 gives us a new portrait and everything like that. It looks beautiful. It also upgrades their equipment, which each character has their own special individual equipment. Really mostly easy to understand abilities here. Shows you how they work, examples of in combat as well. They also have breakthroughs, and these are basically your imprints. You can do most of these for essentially free, but then you get a pretty big one for your first dupe. This makes it so they can use their ability on the first turn of the battle. So that is a bonkers change, like a massive change between having this and not having this. And then you get another filler one here. And then for the final, and this is for 6 stars specifically, you get another bonus here. So pretty big. Actually, this one right here only reduces cooldown by 1 round, and then this one preemptive. So it was the other character I was thinking of. They're slightly different for each of them. So for example, Sharona here increases her chain combo enhancement by 25%, and then the final one makes it so it can be used on the first turn. And as for Midgard here, as we go into her breakthroughs, I do have a dupe of her, and we can see the first skill up. This is why I was confused. Gives me preemptive strike. So it allows me to use her first skill right off the bat. Very, 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 very powerful. And the other cool part about the characters here is if we go into, let's go into Sharona here. Somebody with my affinity up. You have affinity here, and you can level up their friendship, and that unlocks a bunch of stuff. But my actual favorite part of the game is not favorite part of the game, but one of my favorite parts about the characters here is the file info. And what this does, it gives you their name, nicknames, all sorts of stuff here. Tells you about their fighting style, and it also tells you their experiences too. And this is really cool to me. This is my favorite part here. And what this is just a little blurb of what it was like for Vice, who is basically not the main character, but the main character's sidekick. Gives their first impression of the first meeting with this character. So you get an actual insight onto how that character acts, not just random text. You get a personalized thing, and then you get more background on that Vice character as well. Really, 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 really love this. This gives so much personality to it. It is great. And then, of course, as you unlock more, you get more story, and it's great. Affinity 6 and 8 will unlock 2 final ones. You also have the voice lines as well. There is no English VA, which is unfortunate. But you can get all of these, and it actually says what it says in English, which is great, because then you can kind of understand it a little more. One of those things where I fully didn't understand what they were saying, but now going into here, I can see kind of like the personality coming off the character. You can also replay a lot of the characters' memories, which are basically just interactions you have with them for their story, which is amazing as well. The other thing with the characters is because there are 4 elements and there's also 4 types of units, I believe, it's very, 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 very easy for them to make content that kind of revolves around those things. There's a tower in this game, and each tower you're you're definitely required to use an element for each. So you can only use water in the water tower, you can only use forest in the forest tower. There's so many things, and because of that, it really makes you want to build every element, and not only makes you want to, but kind of forces you to. And there's so many good characters that you can pretty much just not go wrong with who you pick. I personally kind of just picked for waifu and husbando for the most part. Like we can see here, the ones I've been using, I have Jonah for fire, Uriel, Faust, Leona, and Maggie. For my ice, I'm using Carlene, Sharona, Philosophy, Klecken, who's not really leveled up, and Vice, who's not really leveled up right now. And we have Migard, Luis, Araya, Silkhair, and Uriah for my earth. And then I have Granru, Iridion, Mia, Nadine, and Vivian for my thunder. And I will build more than just those 5 because some stages might kind of require it. But basically, it makes you use a minimum of 20 characters and invest in them, and you feel good about doing it, which is great. And speaking about characters, once you finish the final chapter in the game right now, you actually have a chance to unlock one of these legendaries, I guess you can call them. It takes a very, 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 very long time to do it. Like the first stage, you had to log in for 10 days. The second stage is a long time. And all the other stages are a really long time too. And I don't think I can actually... Yeah, I can see the others. I'm scared to click into this because if I click into this, it will reset my progress. But you have a choice of any 4 to go with your favorite team, of course. This is really cool, and these are really powerful characters, so giving one of them for free is great, and then you can work on another one right after as well. One thing I want to mention too is the character personality is so massive in this game, and it's such a big deal for people who like reading story and like the ambiance and the connection you have with characters. We have this little text thing here, and these are basically just text streams between characters, and they pop up all the time. I have a ton of them I have not read yet, but you can see here I had a conversation with Joni, and Joni likes to blow stuff up, and she says bang bang kaboom sizzle, and you say what are those, and she says which of the above explosions do you like the sound of the best? And you say if I had to choose it would be kaboom. And then she says, well, I'll give it to you later to boost your spirits. You know, just little cute stuff like this. You feel the interactions. You start to really enjoy the characters. It just makes me really happy seeing all of these. And as for more kind of interaction with characters, we have the Colossus, which again works just like the Arknights thing. You can set up furniture and everything. But the really cool part about this, and it's kind of random when it happens, but people will sit on your stations and everything like this. They'll sit on your chairs if you want them to. Sometimes somebody will get behind the bar and start like shaking stuff and making cocktails for people. Victoria does that for sure, and it's really cool because like she levitates the glass up and shaking. It's so great. We also have the kind of entertainment room, and sometimes people come in and start playing Beat Saber. Like your character will literally just go in, like I don't know if you can make them do it, but if you look on Reddit, for example, you'll see a ton where people are just like here playing Beat Saber or Osu or all sorts of stuff. It's just a really cool technique here, and it just gives so much life to this and just so many cute little things. And there's a ton of stuff like that in the Colossus that I just love to death. And we can see more people here, and we can see them like watching this hologram. It's super cool. It is super duper duper cool. Another thing to mention with the atmosphere of this game is the music you hear in the background. This is my favorite track, especially with just how passive and mood inducing it is. But if you go into illustration at the bottom here, you can kind of review everything. You can review the different factions, and this is another cool thing. We talked earlier about how they separate the towers by element. They can also separate stuff by faction as well, and this is really cool. It gets you a good idea of where the characters stand in the game. You can look at some CG here. There's tons of stuff, but the best part about this for me is the soundtrack. The soundtrack is flawless, IMO. It is absolutely beautiful. Asami Tachibana is, I believe, the main person who does all of the things. There's a video out on her they put on Twitter that was just super duper duper cool. And there's another person who did this song as well called Cat Feet, who's really great. And you can just listen to all the music. You can also set it to your home area. You can set it to Colossus, whatever you want. And all of these are super mood inducing and have attachments to the story as well. I really, really love this part. I think it's just wrong for games not to have this at this point. Like, this is such a cool addition. It just feels lazy almost for games not to have this sort of thing in it. And now let's talk about the battle system, I guess. So the battle system is my favorite thing, I think, in this game, because it's so unique to me. I haven't played anything like it. And on top of that, the other cool part is they do just a fantastic job of introducing new features as you go. And it's basically the same kind of structure for every chapter. So the general flow is the first area, you have a large amount of story, like a good amount of story there. Then as you go into the first site or the second site, which is a battle, you'll end up being introduced to a new type of enemy. And that new type of enemy pretty much changes how you have to do the battle. Then you have a mix of stuff like that all the way up to the halfway point into a chapter, which is generally the first boss. There's also a ton of story here. There's a ton of tension in all the scenes, and you start to get a little bit like hyped up about this chapter and like the evolution of how it's going. And then once they hit but over the halfway point, the first stage will introduce another type of enemy, and it will completely again change how you do the rest of this. And then once you hit the final stage, it's a massive cutscene with huge, awesome bosses that are often very difficult. Very dramatic scenes, and each chapter has its own start, middle, and end, and it's so well paced, and the story makes you care. And there's sadness, there's happiness, there's laughter, there's passion, there's all sorts of things in every story, and the way they end their stories, their chapters, is just insane. It's so beautiful. I've not experienced it like this in any other gacha so far. I've personally not been attached to any other gacha story, but this one I am clung to. Like, I am straight up locked into this story. One of the biggest complaints I've had people come to me with is they say that you have to manual all the stages the first time through. And this is true. You will have to manual every single one of these stages as you're playing through the first time. And this is definitely a downside for a lot of people. And it was a downside for me as well. But because of how they pace everything, because you've got the new types of enemies and then a bunch of stages just battle, and then you have some massive boosts of story, a new stage, a bunch of battles, more massive story, it didn't really feel like I was tiring myself out. Just the pacing they've done with this just makes you feel great. The other part is they don't make it feel like you're playing a gacha game for the vast majority of the time, because they just don't punish you for gacha stuff so far. So a good example of this is the resource area, which are basically like hunts and rune areas in Epic 7. And how many times have you went to use a character in Epic 7 and you've been like, wow, the fire elemental isn't open for 5 days or something stupid, and then you're like, wait, I could buy a pack to open it. Obviously that feels terrible, and they're just doing that to kind of punish you for playing a gacha. And I feel like this game doesn't do this. Obviously you're going to be limited by stamina, that's another thing we'll talk about in a second, and pulls and stuff like that, but the actual gameplay does not feel like you're getting like punished for playing this type of game. Everything is open at all times. There's nothing weird about it. You can do whatever you want. You can work on anything you want as you go. And speaking of stamina, this is another contention that a lot of people have. Stamina is very small in this game. You don't get a ton of it, and you will run out, especially if you're spamming stages. But as a person who played quite a bit, as long as you're reading the story and you're enjoying yourself, you're not going to run out of stamina really at the start. And you'll only really start running out once you've cleared the story and are doing stuff like spamming the resources stage 10 times or something. Basically, this game isn't meant to be played 24/7, and by not being able to play it 24/7, you're not really hampered. You're always making progress. So as for actual combat, let's go into one of the stages here. Let's actually just do, these are the spires, by the way: Frost, Molten, Emerald, and Thunderbolt. All of those you can only use this specific thing. Let's go into a random resource area, and let's just do Forgotten here. No, let's do the Nitium one. So we will go in with this team here. This is the team I'm currently using. The auto system works really well as well. I've learned a lot from the auto system, actually. So let's just do a quick little example of how the game plays in general. Some people really like to have 4 of one element and then a different main. I kind of like to go 3 and 2, but you can go pretty much any way you want. So we can see the squares on the screen, and basically if you run over these squares, and they're blue squares, once you're done running through, every time you go by an enemy, your main character and any blue elemental people, so my Carlene here, this song bangs, by the way. That's not the right terminology. This song bops? I don't know. This song's a banger. We'll go with that. So basically, you want to run through it with one element that's your main, and then hopefully, or that's not your main, and then hopefully your backup people will allow you to take advantage of that. And then they use abilities depending on how far you go. You can also change the captain. So for example, if I wanted to really take advantage of this and there was a Deuterino right here, I would change my captain to Migard here, who is Forest, and that way the Forest character will get hits as they travel through, but also my Sharona will get hits because it's a blue tile. And we can see at the right, we have 2 lit up abilities. We have Migard here, who can use her ability the first turn because I have her thing. And we have Louise as well. And look at Louise's animation. I really like it. And again, all of this looks better on my phone. Really cool animation here. So let's just play this out. And you can see combos here. Once you hit 15 for your combos, which is not easy to do, but it's not necessarily hard, you do get Aurora time, which just allows you to go another turn, basically. And we can see, because this boss has multiple squares there, certain attacks can damage multiple at once. So if we want now, we can teleport our Migard here over and hit 3 of these at once, which is pretty cool. And from this point, if we hover over the boss, we can see where they do damage. This boss just kind of AoEs every turn. So we want to move over here, and then this will allow us to hit the first turn we leave with my main unit and any green units, and then we'll proc off the 2 or 3 abilities at the end. So we can see all of the melee. Migard uses her special. She actually uses it twice because of Luis. And then Sakar also does the same thing here. Another game mode they have right now is the Secret Territory. If you've played AFK Arena, it is very similar to that, where you just get a bunch of bonuses. I've completed it already this time. This is a once-a-week thing. It's 5 stages that look like this, and basically you just traverse it, get a little bit of relics on your way. Very similar to E7's Automaton Tower right now, but this is better, I think. And you can see the relics, like support Aurorians, access healing converts to shields, all sorts of stuff like this. Another really fun game mode that gives some pretty great rewards. And on top of that, we have the Spire as well. We've got Extra Chapter, which is a story-based area. I haven't gone through these yet. There's so much story in this game that I'm trying to kind of absorb it and really enjoy it, right? So if we go into this one here, this Extra Chapter, we can enter it here, and then we can do little stages, and we'll get a bit of story each time we do this. We'll get some rewards. This is the Lumamber, and again, 300 of those for a pull. And chapter reward will also get a Star Flare. And we'll fix this little picture here, and then I'm assuming we'll get that picture in our little area. So This is a really good game. This game is by far my favorite of the year, and probably last year as well. The amount of fun I've had just casually enjoying this is so amazing. There is no PvP either, which is both a massive plus for me and a massive negative for a lot of other people. It depends on who you are. But because there's no PvP, people are just playing with what they like and really just enjoying themselves, you know? Like, nobody's stressing about who the best character is and why. Tier lists aren't getting thrown everywhere. You're not like getting told you're dumb for using somebody. Basically everything is just much more pleasant because of that. The store as well is mostly decent value, but not very much. So it's one of those things where you can buy some packs and stuff like that, and basically most of it is buying pulls and a little bit of ascension materials and stuff like that too. And one big thing I do want to mention is that this game is so much like Arknights, it kind of scares me. I'm kind of scared right now because I loved Arknights at the start, and then I got really bored of it right off the bat. Not right off the bat, but like I hit a brick wall and it made it so I ran out of summoning materials, I ran out of stamina, I ran out of stuff like that. I really hope this doesn't happen here, and I hope they learn from a lot of the mistakes Arknight had, and I really hope they just keep putting out awesome content. We haven't had our first event yet. That first event is going to be coming out on the 8th of this month, and hopefully that brings a bunch of story and a bunch of just enjoyment to the game, hopefully some more pulls. And yeah, I can really recommend this game. And for the people who tried it and didn't want to manual stages, I really recommend picking it up and reading the story and getting to know the characters and just enjoy yourself, you know? Like, this is a really great gacha game that doesn't make you feel bad for playing a gacha game. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you want to download this, get it in the link description below. And thank you so much for watching. Did I say that twice? Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Did I say that twice too? I'm not even sure anymore. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.